Well, terrific. Well, we've looked forward to this for several weeks now, and we're glad that the day has finally come. So I think yesterday I emailed you several questions, but I thought we could start this off by maybe you could tell us a little bit about your experiences, how you arrived where you are today, and then we could kind of, go from there, if that would be okay with you.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to say hi to the class. It'd be good to know as well who I'm speaking to, but hi.
Hi.
Are they looking at me up on a big screen?
You see it? Yeah, we can see you. I have you on a big screen.
Cool. Exciting. I've
Say
never
hello.
done this before. Awesome. Okay, so my name's Natalie Sisson, and if you can hear from the accent, I am from New Zealand originally. I haven't been living there for over 7 years, so I've been living out of my suitcase in different cities and locations around the world. And around 2 years ago, I started my own business, which actually at the time was really just a blog. So short history on my life. 10 years or 8 years in the corporate world doing branding and marketing, and really enjoying the jobs that I did, but always feeling frustrated that I couldn't completely, control what I was doing for them and really, really utilize my skill set, their knowledge, their money in a better way, because there are always rules and regulations in politics. So I'm not good at following rules. I don't generally like authority, and I like to be able to put into place what I want to action at the time. So I found it was pretty slow moving. I moved to Vancouver in 2008 to play World Ultimate Frisbee Championships because I'm addicted to Ultimate Frisbee, which you guys probably know about. It's a big sport in the US. Well, big in comparison to American football, no, but it's a great sport. So I moved there and I actually met my business partner, and we started a online business, which was a payments platform in Facebook. So it was my first kind of foray into entrepreneurship. Really exciting journey. Had to get investors on board, do business models, mock up the product, do a whole lot of testing, figure out how Facebook worked, figure out the whole social media marketing aspect, understand the technology industry. So it was like complete dive into the deep end, and just a really amazing journey into that entrepreneurship field. And about a year or so in, I started a blog because I just wanted to be able to tell people what I was experiencing, kind of diarize the journey of an entrepreneur, but really to use it as a vehicle to interview amazing women entrepreneurs, because there weren't many in the tech field at the time. So I wanted to interview them on how they became CEOs and founders and how they found their journey into the world of entrepreneurship. And it just became a real passion. And my business partner turned to me one day and he said, "You know what, Natalie, I think you're more passionate about your blog, and I totally understand that, and you should go and do something with that." So we parted on really good terms, and I took everything I learned from the blood, sweat, and tears in that startup into this business, which wasn't actually a business, by the way. It was just a blog, and I had a lot of determination and passion and persistence. And that blog today is my business. So you guys probably have some questions around it, but essentially my business is completely online. I can run it from my laptop, which I'm talking to you from now, Skype, and my smartphone, and all I need is an internet connection. And I coach clients around the world through Skype. I have digital products and programs that I've created that they can buy. And I also make money through commissions from recommending products and programs that I love to use myself. So it's pretty cool. A lot of people say I'm living the dream. I almost 95% of the time am. 5% of the time it gets a bit tiring to be in a suitcase, but I wouldn't give it up for the world. So that's me.
Okay, well, terrific. I think, one of the things I've tried to impress upon the kids in this class, I think with everything going on in the economy today, companies doing all kinds of crazy things, technology literally changing industries overnight, I try to impress upon them. I think there's such a great opportunity for young people to get involved in entrepreneurship, especially because they don't have the mortgages, the cars, all the expenses. Someone much older than them have. What's your feeling about that, being young and deciding this is maybe a path that you'd like to take? Can you hear me, Natalie?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, you were saying what's your feeling on being young and choosing starting a business?
I mentioned, I impress upon them that I think entrepreneurship is a great opportunity for somebody, young, because they don't have a lot of the obligations they would have if they were, 30s, 40s, married, children, all those types of things. So I really try to impress it upon them. This is a great time to start thinking about starting your own business instead of relying on somebody to provide you with a job.
Yeah, it totally is. There's like absolutely no better time, and I wish when I'd been in school or even in university that I had had more access to, I guess, business training or being able to talk to people who had a business as a potential career, I guess. Because, as you say, yeah, you do not need much money at all, especially in the online world. You can get started for under $100. I've written numerous articles recently to do with my $100 change program, which is all about just starting something with less. And there's, we're going to talk about this, but social media, online tools make it so incredibly easy to set up a business now where you can compete with the big boys, but just be a one-person team sitting there with your laptop. So there's no excuses anymore, and there's no barriers. And I think, everybody could, in school, have a side hustle. I like to call it side hustle, where you could potentially just be figuring out what it is that you really enjoy doing and how to make money from that and how to be able to do that from anywhere. And you can do that while you're still studying, and I think it really adds to your studies as well, just the things that you can learn from doing that. There's so many facets of running a business and then an online business as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the things, young people, especially their age of 17, 18 years old, they think money is the issue, like they need all kinds of money to start a business. And I try to impress upon them. We were talking a little bit yesterday about Kickstarter and some of these other vehicles to raise money if you so need to. But I think you alluded to the point, and I think you're working with Chris Gillibo on the $100 startup.
Yeah, well, the $100 Change program is my program, but it was inspired by his book, The $100 Startup, which is a must-read. And in that he's basically talking about how people have built pretty remarkable businesses just with $100 or less, really, and using their own skills and knowledge set. So, as I said, I think it's more possible than ever. And Kickstarter is actually a really great tool.
I tell them I don't think money should get in their way.
No,
I think money should not be
get in the way. No, there's always people who will give you money if you have a dream, I think, and you can put it across in the right way. If you can really sell people on what it is that you want to do, you'd be surprised how many people are going to come to your rescue and say, sure, I'll give you XYZ dollars to get up and started. And once you start breaking down the costs, like a domain name for a year is $10, hosting is like $5 a month, setting up a WordPress site, you can do it for like $35. There's a service online called Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, where people will do almost anything for $5. They'll make you a video, they'll do a logo for you, they'll write blog posts for you. It's incredible. So as I said, there's no barriers, and you can really play around with a small budget and achieve a lot.
Right, no, exactly. One of the things, going through your bio, following your posts, your podcasts, etc., you're really committed to purpose. And we spend a lot of time in school, in this class, and I try to emphasize the importance of finding something that really gets you excited, finding a purpose in your life. Do you want to talk a little bit about how purpose has affected you and, how you've really wrapped your hands around purpose and created what you have today?
Yeah, for sure. I think 100% it stands behind every single thing that you do. So when you have a purpose, it just makes everything else in your life align towards doing that very thing. And I think on the days when things are tough, or maybe you feel like giving up, or you're not quite sure, if you go back to what your vision is, or what your purpose is, or the legacy that you want to leave in this world, it just re-motivates you. It just energizes you to go, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, even though it might be hard right now, even though maybe I think like I'm failing, or it's not working, or things aren't coming off as they should. So purpose is huge for me. And I'd also like to reiterate that I didn't actually necessarily have this real clear idea in my head when I started my business or my blog. But it kind of comes as you go, as you start doing the right things and people respond to that and they give you feedback and you see what makes you really excited to jump up in the morning. That's when you start really developing a clearer vision of what you're doing, and your purpose becomes stronger. So I think a lot of people get that confused with, I just have to have it all together. I must be super passionate about this thing that I'm doing, and I've got to have it like just all planned out in my mind before I start. And I absolutely think that's completely wrong. I think it's something that grows with you as you start going down the right path. And you'll probably veer off and go, that didn't feel so good, so I'm going to come back to here now, and then I'm going to look at doing this. And as you go, that purpose strengthens and just makes whatever you're doing so much easier to stay on track and really give it everything. So yeah, purpose is huge. It drives me every day.
Right. Of course, I emailed you a list of questions, but maybe at this point in time, does anybody in the class have any question based upon what we've talked about so far? Anybody have anything they'd like to ask Natalie? Anybody? Okay, so I guess they want me to handle it.
No, they should totally ask a question. Any question is good.
They're being shy. I thought this was a great question yesterday. If someone asked you 10 years ago where you would be today, what would you have said? And then if someone asked you where would you be 10 years from now, what would you say? I thought that was a terrific question.
It was a great question, actually. I think 10 years ago, if they'd asked me, I wouldn't have really had a great idea. I probably would have been about the time that I was out of university and going into my first job, and I just knew that I wanted to do something in marketing. But like most people who leave school, I think you're like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. You know, people tell me this could maybe be a good career. So I never had a really clear insight of what it was that I wanted to do, but I knew that I was a natural marketer. I could tell people about stuff that I was really enthusiastic about and sell them on it, and it was just something that I did naturally and I enjoyed. So I thought marketing would be a great bent for that, but I really didn't mind which industry that was in, and at the time marketing was just this term, and as you guys probably know, there's all types of different marketing: research marketing, strategic marketing. I mean, it goes on and on. So 10 years ago, if somebody had asked me that, I wouldn't have come out with a brilliant statement. And and I think that's cool because you grow into it and you find your way. And 10 years from today, I'm absolutely committed to obviously having this lifestyle of freedom and adventure, but being able to impact over 10,000 more people to do it themselves. I mean, my mission right now is to impact 10,000 people to start their own business. But in 10 years' time, I want to be an angel investor with the amount of money that I have at my disposal to be able to invest back into them so they can do bigger and better things. That would be where I'd like to be in 10 years' time, actually helping people create these amazing businesses that go on to impact hundreds of other people.
Maybe some of my students will be contacting you in the future.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, terrific. I know social media is a big part of what you do and a big part of your life. Do you want to kind of touch upon that and talk about it a little bit and the importance and how it can be utilized and so on and so forth? I think that's certainly a hot topic today.
Yeah, I freaking love social media. It's like actually what I built my business on. So, yeah.
A little passionate there.
And that was frickin', by the way. That wasn't a swear word.
Yeah.
So for those of you, if you're starting in a part-time job already, or if people are ever saying get off social media, I wouldn't listen to them just because it's probably the key vehicle that's going to help you grow your business if you decide to go down that route. And if you're using it strategically. I'm not talking about getting on Facebook and poking people and commenting on every single photo and tagging people and stuff, or getting on Twitter and just aimlessly getting caught up in the, however many tweets there are a day. I think it's something like 3 billion. Don't quote me on that. But for a business to use social media, I just think it allows you to amplify your message and your brand, your visibility and your credibility online for so little in terms of investment, but more in terms of your time and knowledge and understanding of it. I think it's one of the most amazing kind of set of tools that you could ever be given. And it's actually how I started. So my blog is a form of social media, and that's what initially, I guess, got my message out there. And then Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn were the 3 vehicles that I used initially to get the word out and to share my message with people, but also communicate with others, engage, read other people's blogs, comment, bring them back to my blog, build this kind of credibility and community of people. And since then, I love Pinterest for being able to share really great messages and quotes, images, products that I'm selling, and images from travel and business as well, like cool cafes to work in. I like Google Plus because it's more of a technical platform for early adopters. There's some really smart conversations going on there. and anything that Google's putting out, you generally want to try and keep up with. So I don't know, I just think the possibilities are endless. And then YouTube is just super. I love watching videos on YouTube, and I like producing videos. I now have a Suitcase Entrepreneur video show. It's pretty new, but I love it, and I love the interaction that you get on there. So putting it all together, I guess social media I see as the place to amplify your message, to build your brand, to build your credibility, and to engage with a whole group of people that care about what you're doing. And obviously you have to care about them as well, but I mean, I've had people put me up around the world thanks to places like Twitter and free spaces to play. People that I've met, entrepreneurs, through a service called Startup Stay. Just incredible how people find you through these social media networks and the opportunities that you get. I blog for Forbes thanks to social media, picking up my blog a few years ago. Visa Business Network, they came to me through social media. So I just don't even want to, I could never stop talking about the power of social media.
And most of the tools or most of the sites that you talked about are all free. Am I correct?
Yep.
To utilize.
Yeah.
So there's no cost, no startup costs or anything. It's just basically logging on, setting up an account, and just learning how to use tools.
Yeah.
So it's a relatively easy process.
Yeah, it's free in terms of the cost is zero, but in terms of your time investment into learning them, for sure, you've got to factor that in. But I think it's like an education and the best business tools to market and promote your business, and also, as I said, engage with the community. So there's that time factor, but it's been totally worth it for me. So as I said, you've got to do the right things, the strategic things, not the I'm faffing around on social media just for the sake of it and getting distracted.
Sure. No, I'm sure you feel this way. You probably get some very good ideas using those tools and some of the interaction from those tools, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like reading blog posts each day or seeing what people are actually putting out there content-wise, videos they're producing, the way they're using Twitter, for example, to maybe run a campaign or a fundraiser. It's really creative. And then integrating those with things like we talked about Kickstarter and Indiegogo for crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. The opportunities are limitless, actually. And I think it's becoming more and more integrated. You're having this kind of single access sign-on like Facebook Connect, whereby you don't have to join all these different networks. They're kind of integrating with each other. And that just makes it a much more streamlined process, which is great as a business owner, because the last thing you want is a gazillion things on your mind. If you can post to multiple platforms using a tool, my favorite tool, for example, is Hootsuite, and allows me to post to multiple social media sites, schedule out my messages, watch for keywords, watch for mentions, and reply within one platform rather than going off to every other place. So I like tools like that because they save you time, they save you money, and they're just a really, as I said, one sort of dashboard for you to be able to look at your entire social media presence.
Yeah. Well, I'm jealous that you have the opportunity to look at all these tools in a given day. I try to here with my classes, and so much of what I try to see, for instance, Twitter is blocked. And I think personally, Twitter is one of my best learning resources for the different groups that I follow. And I think schools are very, very slow in terms of coming around and understanding what's going on in industry versus what's going on in education. And it can be very, very frustrating, to say the least. So
I wouldn't say it's just schools, but I agree. It's also like, for example, the financial and insurance industry and the health industry. Any industry, I guess, where there's still this, they're kind of shying away from putting too much information out there and the legal actions that could come back from that. But I think in the education perspective, it's an absolute must. Once again, if it's being taught the right way, it's absolutely incredible for learning things. And also for the networking and the connections that you'll make that'll set you up when you leave school. That's something huge.
Actually, you touched upon something that I wanted to talk a little bit about this morning too, is I think as we get older, we understand the power of networking and making contacts. I know certainly I wish somebody had talked to me when I was 17 or 18 about networking, about making contacts. Could you maybe talk to the class a little bit about, how important that can be, and the earlier you learn that and the better you become at it, how that can be very effective for your career?
Yeah, I think a lot of people always, a few of my friends just always marvel at how I manage to get in contact with people or get people to say yes or just meet people, but I honestly think it's all in the ask. So if you're coming back to having a purpose and you're really passionate about that purpose and it's coming from the heart, you can pretty much, reach out to anybody. And the wonderful thing about particularly the online world, as well as going to networking events, is people are way more open to connecting with you than you think. I'm not talking about the celebrities who are like, never answer a thing, but people are actually pretty happy to tell their story. For example, like me being here today. And I think they like to be able to explain where they came from or what they did and pass on their knowledge, mentor people. So it's honestly just about asking. A lot of people are like, how did you manage to get so-and-so? Or how did you manage to meet Seth Godin in person? And I'm like, you know what? I just emailed him because I heard that he answers every single email that he gets. Now, maybe I was a little bit more determined and persistent than some, and I made it happen when I was in New York City. But at the end of the day, it's just about the ask. And networking is so important because at the end of the day, unfortunately, that saying is true. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's better to start building your contacts now and start hanging out with people who are doing what you ultimately want to be doing. There is a lot to be said for being in the company of people who are brilliant or smarter than yourself, doing bigger things than yourself, because it really forces you to kind of like step up and play that game as well. It just really, even being able to access their minds, watching the way they work, watching how they interact with other people, you can learn so much, and then you inherently start applying it in your own life. So every single time you're at a networking event or even a school event where you get to talk to people, just, really practice putting yourself out there and saying, hey, this is who I am, but more importantly, who are you? Listening to their answers and then figuring out if there's some sort of mutual beneficial relationship there. I think where a lot of people go wrong with networking is they go, hi, my name's XYZ and I want you to do this, this, and this for me, before they've even developed a relationship, before they've even gained trust. So it's always about, hi, my name's Natalie and what can I do for you? Is a great way to start when it comes to networking.
I think, what you're in essence saying too, is you can't go in there with a single focus of getting for you. You got to be willing to give in order to get to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be a two-way. A good networking or a good relationship or contact has to be a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely. There's a great book actually by, I think it's Robert Cialdini, called Influence, and he talks about the power of reciprocity as well. So there's this thing where I think they do a little experiment and they're in a hospital waiting room and he comes in, he's like, I'm going to go and get a Coca-Cola. Does anybody want a Coke? And people are like, oh, no. So he brings them back a Coke and gives it to them and they're all a bit, like, what a generous act, but they feel a bit bad taking it from him. And then about 5 or 10 minutes later, he goes around saying, look, I'm doing this raffle ticket sale for my school, for my kids. Would you guys mind buying a ticket? And of course, everybody's like, oh, sure, because he's given them something first, so now they feel they have to return it. It was a really great example, I think, of that psychology of giving first and then how it comes back to you.
I read the book. It's a great book. Great,
book.
especially selling on the sales side.
Yeah.
Definitely a great book. You touched upon something when you were talking you started talking about the type of people you connect with, hang around with. And I don't think young kids realize how that really does shape their life in some respects. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I guess, okay, from a personal story, when I first started in business, I probably didn't have a massive amount of belief that I could do it. I mean, maybe there was this, as I said, determination or something inside me that felt just give it your absolute best shot. But there's tons of hurdles along the way and challenges that continue to happen in life and in business. So how it shaped me to hang out with people who are operating on a different level or, different vibration, or they're already where I want to be, for example, just makes you realize the possibilities and see what is actually possible for you. But also, as I said, just being in their presence, there's something about it. And I think you can't start out, obviously, by just hanging out with your absolute idol, but there's the flip side of that, is hanging out with people who are constantly sucking at your energy, taking away your time, telling you can't do something. You start to believe it. So the flip side is, if you're hanging out with these people who are like, yeah, you can do this, yeah, you can achieve this, it's a mindset shift for you. That's why I think it's really important. And as I've progressed in my journey, initially I was probably hanging out with people who were at my same level of thinking at the time, and then I'd reach out to a few more people who were just a little further ahead or had more knowledge or more skill set in the thing that I was doing. And just one conversation with them would change my whole attitude about it. Go, oh, okay, so this is possible. I'd take that learning and I'd go and apply it to my business and I'd see some progress. And then I'd do it again with somebody else. So it's a brilliant form of education, actually, which is a wonderful thing to do. Sorry, I've just got somebody Skyping in. Yeah, so hopefully that answered the question. If you want me to touch on it again, I'm happy to. Or if somebody else has another question around that.
I want to leave. Anybody have any questions so far? No? You're not being shy on me, are you? Okay. I have one of my students would like to ask you a question. This is Spencer.
Cool. Hey, Spencer.
What kind of experiences have you had on like your travels? Like,
on my travels? Oh,
Yeah.
where do you want to start? Do you know what I think travel is so amazing for? Is that it's like a constant discovery and exploration process that really forces you to make quick decisions. So if anything, it's been brilliant for me in terms of going, okay, well, the train didn't arrive or I missed the plane, which is usually unlikely, but it has been done. What am I going to do now? What are my options? Also, I love getting lost in cities. When I first started out traveling, I was one of those people with the Lonely Planet guide going, okay, I have to go here and here and here. And when you do that, it's pretty cool because all you do is you meet other backpackers and travelers who are doing the exact same route because they're all reading the same book. So I think that's really fun to do for a while, but once you start traveling more, it's actually a lot of fun to just arrive in a city really with no idea what you're going to do there. Just it may be a bit scary to people, but I love it because then you just are forced to talk to locals and say, okay, I'm here for 3 days. What are the top 3 things that you do in the city? And sometimes that's far more enlightening than a guidebook. Not saying that guidebooks aren't good. And of course, it's good to read up a little once you're in the city. But I've had some of my best experiences from that, like getting lost, walking down the wrong streets, jumping on the wrong boat, meeting some crazy people, and being open to experiences is what travel is all about. Just being open and flexible to, okay, I'm going to change my travel plan and I'm going to go with this group of people and we're going to go and investigate these caves in the middle of Laos and get lost and have a crazy time. There's like endless things to talk about in travel, but if you have anything more specific that you want to know, I'm happy to answer it. He's like, eh.
That was pretty good. Do you find, one of the things I try to impress upon the kids is as you travel, you see things in different countries, different parts of the world, and they also can give you great ideas for maybe something that you see in one part of the world that you could potentially bring back to where you are, and that could become a business or something. Do you find, likewise, you kind of have that antenna on as you make your way?
Definitely. Actually, more and more. You just reminded me of my cousin who was a bit of a hustler, and he used to go to places like Thailand and Cambodia and buy all the jewellery there, the cheap jewellery, and then try and bring it back to the UK where he's from and sell it, but it never worked quite well. But I've seen other people do really cool things like that, because often in countries around the world, people are doing stuff that is not particularly well known to your culture yet. So if you can be an early adopter and take that idea and apply it to your culture and the people that you know, then it could potentially be a really cool business that you set up. So a lot of people have gone to cafes around the world or seen a sport being played or a different kind of tour agency doing cool tours and gone, I could probably apply that in my city. There's something really unique. I don't believe it's in Amsterdam, sorry. They do like a beer tour and you literally cycle around on this moving bar. It's brilliant. So people are cycling while they're drunk, but in order to move and see the city, they have to keep cycling and they can drink beer while they're doing it. It's crazy. And I think somebody had seen that somewhere in Southeast Asia in one of the cities, and they were like, this could definitely apply in Europe where people love beer and there's so many amazing beers. So I think it's always sparking your creativity about, could you do a variation on that thing that you've seen, or would that work in your own country? And I'm constantly now looking at people, how they're marketing their businesses, street sellers, even beggars. I know that sounds really horrible, but often I feel like going up to these people, and because I don't give money directly to people, I do it through charities and through impacting a lot more people. But sometimes I feel like telling them, stop asking for change, ask for $5 for a specific purpose, and you're probably more likely to get it. Like if you see people on the street, can you spare a bit of change? Can you spare a bit of change? If they turn to you and say, could you give me $2 because I want to put it towards buying this particular item of grocery today, I'm much more likely to go, sure, because you've got a plan for it, even if they don't use it for it. And that's just like a really small example of seeing how people are doing stuff and always trying to improve in my mind what they could be doing better.
Okay, anybody with a question?
I have a question.
We got another question for you. This is Victor.
You say you work on networking and work on the blog, right?
That I work on my blog?
Yeah, so
Yes.
since that's your business, what's your way of making profit?
So the blog is more the platform for me to speak out and gain an audience and share my knowledge and value. And then people through my blog will go, you know what, I want to look at one of Natalie's digital products, like my Build Your Online Business Guide, for example. So they'll then look at that page and they might buy it. And then they'll enjoy what they read, hopefully. They'll learn a lot from it. And they'll go, you know what, Natalie has some great things to say. Now I'd like to do one-on-one coaching with her. So that's kind of the sales funnel that I've seen for how people first get to know me. They initially read my stuff. If it resonates with them and I build a bit of trust and they like my style, then they'll generally purchase something that I have for sale, or potentially a tool or a product or a program that I recommend that I will take a commission for, and then generally come through to me for coaching or one of my group coaching programs. So the blog itself is not really actually monetized. I don't put advertising on there. I only really showcase my own products and programs. In the past, I've looked at that, but generally monetization will come through a number of ways. You can advertise other products. You can accept advertising on your blog. You can do product reviews on your site and use your own affiliate link, or you can get sponsored posts whereby somebody else will pay you to write about something they're talking about, and they'll, as I said, they'll give you some money for that. But very, very few people make money just from blogging. There's always like a mechanism to how they're receiving money through their blog. So it's a part of it for sure, but it's not the main aspect of my income stream.
Anybody else? No. I'll go back to our questions then. Who is the most interesting entrepreneur that you've met? Would it be Seth?
Seth's crazy cool. Hopefully you guys know who he is, Seth Godin. He's like a marketing guru.
I'll show them tomorrow. I'll show them Seth's website.
Yeah,
he is great.
He's amazing. He's the only person I know who can blog and write this much, but make it so meaningful. Unfortunately, that's not my talent. Like I like to write a lot. He's incredible. He's written a gazillion books, and he's basically transforming the publishing world right now from one where you're putting it back in control of the bloggers and the writers themselves. So I really love that about him. He's super sharp. Like I had about 35 minutes with him, and he just gets it. He's just so insightful. So yeah, I would say he's probably one of the most fascinating entrepreneurs that I've met. I'm trying to think of some other people. Like I've had really great, through my $100 change program that I'm running right now, which is a non-profit initiative designed to get aspiring entrepreneurs to start something for under $100. I basically got 100 change makers to deliver advice to me either through the written word, through video, or audio. So just as a result of that, I've been able to reach out to authors and coaches like Michael Port. Danielle Laporte is an amazing entrepreneur, speaker, coach, author. She's incredible if you want to see her at White Hot Truth. And I've got to meet her in person. Chris Guillebeau has been a huge influence on my life. People have called me the female equivalent of Chris Guillebeau, but he has this crazy-ass scheme whereby he's traveling to every single country in the world. I think he's 8 countries away from finishing. He's published 2 books. He has a huge audience online at the Art of Nonconformity, and he preaches about living a nonconformist life. So being remarkable in a conformist world, which is probably something you guys would appreciate reading. And yeah, I just feel really blessed and fortunate to have met some incredible people. Once again, just from reaching out and networking and being at events and making contact, and also connecting with them online.
Well, I think one of the things you had mentioned earlier is you have to ask.
Yeah.
You know, to be willing to ask. I mean, I was in sales for 27 years prior to becoming a teacher, and if you didn't ask, I mean, sometimes you thought, well, they're not going to buy, and then you ask, and all of a sudden you walk out with an order that you didn't expect, but you at least took that initiative to ask. And I think as young people, there's a little bit of, you're a little bit timid in some sense, but by asking, you just never know.
Yeah. All about the ask. So ask me some questions.
That?
She said ask me some questions, but
Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay, Kayla, come over here. I have Kayla in the corner here. She kind of put this whole Skyping together, so she's going to say hi.
Nice work, Kayla. Hey.
I'm Kyla. I have a question. Who was the person that made you want to become an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think, oh man, that is a great question actually. Maybe there's two people. Can I have a man and a woman? Probably a lady called Claudia Batten actually. She's a New Zealand lady who had a massively successful sale of a company in the millions of dollars quite a few years ago. And she was the very, very first person that I interviewed on my blog. So when I was starting out and wanting to interview women who had made it in the technological industry and started a successful company, she was somebody who came on my radar. And I loved it because she was a Kiwi, a New Zealander. You know, there's so many success stories from North America, so it was closer to home. And the interview that we had was really inspiring because she just really dug into what she thinks it was that helped her to make it. And then my other all-time favorite entrepreneur, and I know everybody quotes him as Richard Branson, there's something about the fact that he lives this crazy adventurous life and is completely honest and open about the fact that he's never the smartest or brightest person, but that he's done a really great job of hiring the right people to be around him, right? And I love that he is the absolute PR marketing man of his company, that he'll jump off skyscrapers and it'll go wrong and it'll be a PR disaster, but he keeps on going. You know, the fact that he owns an island and he invites really cool people out to be with him, and he's just constantly looking to access other people's knowledge and mind, despite the fact that he has this billion-dollar empire. I just think he's a really cool character because he's always talking about you've got to be having fun. And he's right. You cannot go into business if you're not having fun, because it's the thing that gets you through the days that are less than wonderful. So they'd be my two.
All right, well, I think our class period is going to end here really shortly, and I don't want to have it end in the middle of in the middle of our talk. But any other questions? Any final questions? Anybody? No? Well, I want to thank you. This has been terrific, and this has been I think a great experience for the kids. But the one thing I do appreciate about you is you're extremely sincere. When I first came in contact with your blog and going through the information, I watched on your blog you have a little 3-minute video. I think it's in the About Natalie section, and that was a big selling point for me. You came across so sincere, and I said to myself, I need to get in contact with her, and I need to have her speak to my class. So we're so happy we could pull this together.
That's really cool. Thank you for saying so. Yeah, I'm pretty much always speaking my mind and speaking the truth. I can't tell a lie, so thank you. That's great to hear.
Well, I think you're really a good role model for young people. I think what you've done in your approach to life, I think it's very, very exciting and very, very embracing. So I pass that along to you.
Cool. Watch out for 2013. You get to choose my next adventure.
We'll be following you. But hey, I told the kids you're on Twitter, and I'll reiterate it again tomorrow so they can hopefully connect with you on Twitter as well.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. And on Facebook. And on my blog. I'm giving away some business books on my blog right now. So.
Okay, terrific. Terrific.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.